And I think when the Lord finally revealed to me that He had plans and I listened, that's where Promise Ranch begins. The beauty and the adventure of God's plan is so exciting and so rewarding. It's beyond measure.
The people and the kids that we've been able to touch, you've been able to touch, in just in the couple of years we've been here at this location is just amazing. And their stories that interlinked with other stories, it's just, it's jaw-dropping. Just the simple act of opening up your home and letting a kid get on a horse, you know, and the impact you have on.
So I think one of the easiest ways to describe our relationship with the Lord is through the horses. And right now, this is an exercise that many horses can do. But it's also a lot like the relationship that we have with the Lord. And at first, we're not really sure about that relationship, and it feels and can feel like a tether, and that we really need to hold on. As our relationship grows with the Lord, it gets stronger, and we become more confident. And in life, we have to seek the Lord. We have to trust the Lord. And here, Promise is staying connected. He goes out a little further and he watches. Oh, sometimes he gets his own will. But he's still got his eye on me. And he feels, sometimes we do our own thing and we get ourselves in trouble. When we come back to the Lord, we can get ourselves together again. When we do, He can follow us. We can follow Him. We can throw on through any obstacle, and He'll lead us the way. We don't always do it right. Might always not be perfect. Some things in life can be tough and scary. Obstacles can be hard. They're a lot easier when we have the partnership with the Lord. These are tough things for a horse to go through. Just like we have tough things that we can go through. Come with me, buddy. So we can always remember, though, that the real bridge isn't in our power, it's in Jesus. When we cross that bridge, He promises to always be with us, never forsake us. And this is where the teaching begins. So we're Promise Ranch. We are a faith-based ministry that is an outreach for really anyone who is seeking a deeper, more meaningful relationship with the Lord. I think our target audience has been, or the Lord has brought to us, people that have experienced trauma or just really need to find a day of peace or rest. I think to describe how we started is to tell you about my favorite Bible verse, and that would be Jeremiah 29:11, which is, He has plans for us, plans to prosper us, plans to give us hope and a future. In my life, it hasn't really been like that. I had my plans, and I didn't realize that there were plans that God had for my life. And although those plans were successful and they were joyful, they also had a path of a destruction alongside of them because they were my plans. And I think when the Lord finally revealed to me that He had plans and I listened, that's where Promise Ranch begins. That happened at the purchase of my first horse, my first owned horse as an adult. But it really came much later after Brian and I married and began to see how important it was to have Christ at the center of your home. We're a blended family. We married with 3 children each and all boys, and realized that we had a lot of relationship building to do with the children. Although horses were only a small part of that family time, they were always there as a neutral place for the kids, and they were a neutral place for us in our marriage. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It wasn't, though, until after the children left that we began to realize that we could share the things that we had learned, not only from our blended family, but also from our experiences and our walk with the Lord, that God began to reveal to us that this was something that we could share with others.
And that's when you started the hay bales and horsemanship.
That's right. Yeah. So we started inviting youth to our home. There's several other women that were involved at our church, and we started at another friend's farm because we really didn't have the place to host the kids. And we started with 2 other ladies that we really enjoyed, and we did Bible study with the kids, and it was almost a mentoring time. It was mostly young girls, middle school age children, and we really just enjoyed sharing not only how God was really a part of the pressures and the hardships in life, but also how He was there in the fun times, and we were able to use the horses to do so.
That you would conduct the lessons, the scripture lessons. The girls would climb up in the hay bales,
Yeah.
and actually sit on the stacks of hay bales,
Yeah.
to
Yeah, in
talk.
in 2020 we lost our place to host, and so we had our largest enrollment that year, which was more than 20 children, and so we divided the group in 2 and said we would host them at our house, and we had a 10 by 10 hay bale loft that the kids climbed up in, and we had our lessons in there, and
Made it work.
and yeah, the Lord provided good weather, and because we had no shelter, there was not the first day that it rained.
Yeah, we would weeks where it would rain and then stop the day that you would have
Yeah,
lessons. That was
He just
amazing.
provided.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
In fact, the one day that it rained, it stopped long enough for y'all to go out and
have our lesson.
have your horse lesson, and then come back in, and it started raining again.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. I forgot about that.
That was amazing.
I think as our hindsight has shown us, and even you telling the story, you can hear where God was in the details, and that's really what we're here to say. Really, is you think He's not there. The world is big, and sometimes we feel alone, and He really is with you. We just have to recognize that He's there. We have to be still and listen and hear His voice. There's so many amazing things that have happened in this journey that I'm not really sure where to start. It's been a journey of hope and trust, healing, faith, and it's been a blessing, each part of it. We didn't do it all perfectly. In fact, a lot of it we probably did pretty badly. But I think that's how we grow with the Lord, and
That's his opinion.
He's so gentle with us throughout our lives, and we don't even recognize in our growth. Sometimes we don't recognize that it's His gentle prompting that's allowing us to grow the way we are.
It's just so many details and just so many God stories, and just getting us to this place. The ministry had expanded to the point where we ran out of space for attendees, but also ran out of space for horses. So we had a little 5-acre plot that we just ran out of space. So we started looking for a new place to grow into, and we were just like, okay, Lord, show us where you want us to go. And we started looking out toward Roanoke, and we're like, oh, that's where the grandkids are. That's where we want to move. We want to go that way. And we kept looking. We'd find places we liked, but it was just nothing really clicked.
And it would always, if we did pursue it, it always fell through.
Yep. So we never found any place out toward Roanoke. We couldn't find a place that we thought was a good fit. Michelle, during one of her Bible studies, women's Bible studies, mentioned that she was asking for prayer for us as we did our search. So
one of the ladies that was at the Bible study was surprised. She came, and we had put our home up for sale, and everyone thought we were nuts putting our home up for sale without having a place to go. And we were like, we have to trust the Lord that this is all going to work out. And so this one of the women in the Bible study mentioned someone that she knew many years ago that had a home that might still have it. It was a horse farm, and I really didn't think anything of it. And the hind story is that we actually, Promise Ranch is here at that home now, and she had not seen the previous owner of in many, many years, and they ran into one another hiking around the Peaks of Otter after we had asked for prayer. And so she connected us, and Brian and I prayed about it. We knew that it was heading the opposite direction, and we were like, if this is what the Lord wants, then we just need to be obedient. And we didn't. The house was not for sale. The lady who owned the house was, just a distant friend of one of our friends, and so we got her phone number and prayed about it, and I called her, and it was kind of an awkward phone call, but we had I explained, what we'd been praying for and what the connection was, and as I paused, she began to speak and was crying, and she said, "I've prayed for you for 2 years." And she said, "I think you need to come and see the house." And unbeknownst to me, she has quite a testimony herself, but she always knew that there should be a ministry here. And so she had been praying for whomever came, and whoever she would sell to would be someone who was going to do ministry with horses. And so when she shared her story, of course, I'm in tears as well on the phone. So we drove out that weekend, and here we are at Promise Ranch.
Oh, that's a summary and a half. Good golly, we turned the corner up here with the trees, through the trees, and we saw the barn and the fencing and the arena, and just kind of saw it, and we just knew we were home. We walked the property. We just felt the peace on this property, and we felt God's presence, and that this was it. We went into the house, looked at the house, and talked to the owner, and talked to her about pricing and that sort of thing. And the price that she quoted was the exact price that we could afford, period. And it was like to the dollar. And so it's just a no-brainer that this was where God was putting us. Of course,
we have to forget, if you're going to tell that, we have to tell your list.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had, for the property that I felt we needed to be at, we had to have a barn, and we had to have
a tractor,
a tractor, and we had to have, all this sort of stuff. So she quoted us the price, and she said, "Oh, by the way, the tractor out behind the barn is part of the deal too. You can have that." And we walked out behind the barn. I expected to find some dilapidated old tractor, but it was this nice, fairly well taken care of tractor. Yep. It works. So it's just amazing, all the little details that we had, the criteria we had set out, and God just kind of checked them all off, and and even to the extent of she was willing to just wait until we got our house sold, and and that went through Thanksgiving of that year. And then
it was Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, and we finally got the house sold, and even that was.
But God released that too. I was working full time at the time, and I felt very strongly due to some things that were happening at work, and just in being obedient that this was going to be what the Lord was going to have me do. And trying to be obedient to that, felt very strongly the Lord was telling me it was time to leave. And when I tell you that it was a step in faith, it was a ginormous step in faith. In doing my own thing, I was very successful financially, and it meant a huge loss for us financially for me to step out of my position. And here we were going into a new endeavor, but I felt very strongly about it and really felt truly as if the Lord was saying it was time. We began praying about it, and I felt like it needed to happen even before we moved, because I needed to start really working on the mission and how we were going to develop the ministry, and I didn't have time for that. My job required 65 hours a week or more, and there just was no time for it. And Brian was very hesitant about it. And we were in church service one morning, and the Holy Spirit, I guess maybe you should tell that story, because I'm telling it secondhand.
No, go right ahead. You're doing great. You're doing great.
The Holy Spirit really convicted him, and he leaned over in service and said, "I'm holding you back. I know that I need to trust the Lord in this, but I really need to go forward for prayer."
Yep.
And so we did, which that set us on a whole nother journey too.
It did, yeah.
But just immediately him going forward connected us with people in Concord. we knew no one in Concord. We didn't know anyone in Concord. And from the moment we stepped forward, we began meeting people who live in this area. And the next morning, I resigned, and we began praying for a part-time job for me. And the Lord provided that too. The company that I worked for said, "We need you. Can you stay 2 days a week?" And so I had a 2-day-a-week job for more than a year to get us through financially the place we needed to get to. So when I say He's in the details, He's in the details. We could have never imagined that would have happened. We couldn't have planned it, asked for it. He had it planned. We just had to be obedient to it. I really want you to hear that in this story that God did these things. And I think that's why we can share this story in such detail, because He revealed all of this to us. It's unusual to have people speaking about things in this much detail. But the gentleman who bought our home revealed to...
You're starting at the end.
Well, you start then. Go ahead. I don't know.
She gets a phone call one day after we'd moved here from a friend of hers from church saying, "You have a package at your old house." And she's like, what do you mean I've got a package at our old house? Number one, how do you know where our old house is, much less, anyway, we got a package there. Ended up being that the gentleman who bought our house was the former son-in-law?
Yeah, I'm not
some
sure.
some relation to this friend.
Yeah.
And so she just was talking with him, and he told her that he had a package there, and he had come to see the house and actually called her and said, "Can you come take a look at this barn and see if it's a good barn, for horses?" And she said, "Well, where is it?" And he gave her the address, and and she said, "Oh, I know that. I know the couple that was there. I know that barn, and you need to buy it." And he's like, "Well, I feel like personally that I need to buy this house because Michelle had verses throughout the house on the walls and everything, and all the realtors had told her, take those down, you won't get it sold with all those verses up and all that sort of thing." But he had walked into the house to see the house.
And his life verse.
And his life verse was on the wall. And so he was like, I need to buy this house. And he had actually had that feeling even before then. He wanted to come see the house so bad that he called us directly to come see the house rather than wait for his realtor to come through. So it was just amazing details. So anyway.
Oh, and we met this particular woman. We met the day he went forward in church.
Yep. Yep.
So this was not like someone who was a lifelong friend or anything like that. Like we had just met her.
He's just in all the details. You just really, you have to be.
So the house got sold because Brian went forward that day, because we would have never met her, and you start stacking these on and it just sounds ridiculous. And just that God has shown us these things so that we can giggle over them.
Yeah, and just through all the kids you've been able to mentor, and we had the front pastor needed mowing, and we had the guy who usually does it and takes the hay was not able to do it this past year, so he was going to get a friend to come do it. The friend comes over and says, "Okay, I'll be glad to do it." And golly, he's helped us out so much. And he actually said, "Well, do you need hay?" And we're like, and we had been praying for, with so many horses, so many animals, we go through hay like anything. we were praying for any type of relief with hay, and he's like, I'll be glad to bale it for you and give it to you. And we're like, well, how many? It's like,
And it was enough to get us
hundreds
through the
of
winter.
bales. And it's it's just amazing. So we've got a barn full of hay because God set up that the guy who couldn't mow the front pasture couldn't do it that time around, and had a friend who was willing to help us out.
He seems so big to so many, but to us, he seems like he's sitting right next to us. And
Sometimes he's sitting behind us going,
yeah, that too.
sometimes he's thumping me in the head.
In the days of exhaustion. In my plan, in my plan in life, I thought, it's a good life. It was a good life. The beauty and the adventure of God's plan is so exciting and so rewarding. It's beyond measure.
Yeah, you can't be on this property and look at the sunset across the mountains over there and not feel his presence. It's just amazing. The people and the kids that we've been able to touch, you've been able to touch in the couple of years we've been here at this location is just amazing. And their stories that interlinked with other stories, it's just, it's jaw-dropping. Just the simple act of opening up your home and letting a kid get on a horse, and the impact you have on their lives.
Promise Ranch is available to really anyone. If you just want to come ride for a day, you can come ride for a day. If you want to bring your family out and have a family day, you can do that. We offer horsemanship classes. I don't call them riding lessons. And during that time, we always have a life lesson that goes along with it. I have students that have been with me for several years. Those students enjoy just doing Bible study. So we'll pick a book of the Bible and we'll read through it. I have younger students or students that are working on some aspect that they want to work on with God. It might be assertiveness. It might be controlling their temper. And so we'll work on things with the horses that always correlate back. And we will, sometimes we've done book studies together. Sometimes I just pray about them and the Lord gives me verses to talk over with them. Sometimes God gives me some little, way to show them with the horses that how to work through or analyze problems. Are you laughing?
No, I love it when she plans out these lessons to the nth degree, and she knows what she's going to say and the verses she's going to reference and that sort of thing. And she'll get out with the horses and have a horse out there that will act up or do something, and then God's put it in the horse to act a certain way, and then puts it on her heart to teach a whole different lesson, a whole different thing. So it just, you think you're going to go down one path, and they take you down another.
Yeah. So. I had a young woman trying to really understand what a healthy relationship, male-female relationship, felt like, looked like. And we were doing an exercise in purposefulness and being purposeful and intentional in our actions. And we're using the horses to do that. When all of a sudden I realized that she was pushing on the horse. to take him out of her space. And I realized that in that pushing, I looked at her and I said, do you feel like people don't respond unless you push? And she said, yeah. She goes, I feel like I have to have people don't respond to me asking. And so the lesson completely changed at that point. In just recognizing that, and she recognized it. And so we could work on that, and we could pray about that, and we could seek the Lord's guidance in that. And those are the kinds of things that happen here. We offer summer camps, to switch the subject. We offer summer camps and birthday parties, tea parties, cowboy parties. We do pony racing with our miniatures, which is a lot of fun.
We take the miniatures everywhere. We take them to VBS. We take them to...
Yeah, that's our community outreach.
Yeah, we'll take them to community events, in Lynchburg and Bedford and Concord. And
yeah, those outreaches are really in the community, are really... they are all very purposeful too with sharing the love of Christ. Even then, if we're in a school, we tell them we're a Christian organization, and we find a way to talk, about the Lord with the kids. I think our famous is that what we're kind of famous for is we paint our ponies. The kids paint their ponies everywhere we go. They put their handprint on the ponies. What better way to look at who we are is through our handprint. And what better way to look at God but through His.
How He marks our heart. Puts His mark on our heart. We have an army of volunteers, well, not army, but we've got quite a few volunteers that...
We love our volunteers.
Faithfully, they are out here Monday nights at 6 p.m. Rain or shine, they show up and they help us during that time to clean stalls, build things, run wire, fix fences, and we try to...
we have other volunteers that come early in the morning.
Yes, we have the ones in the mornings.
That help us feed or organize or...
they're really good at organizing.
And I have other volunteers that know how to ride horses, that join me in teaching lessons.
There's so much to do that we need so much help. It's just nonstop. We had no idea. We'd never owned a horse farm before, and to something this big just is overwhelming if you don't have some folks willing to step up and help us continue the operations.
Yeah, we appreciate mentors. If you have a call to really share the gospel with kids, or you want to counsel children that may have really gone through some tough things, we would love for you to come out and be part of that too. If you enjoy being outdoors, or you yourself want to just be around horses and maybe learn a little bit more, that's also part of our volunteering. Several of our volunteers started out volunteers and now ride with me once a week. I also do a ladies' Bible study. Once a week we do a Bible study and ride. We're all different levels of riding ability, and so it's a little teaching and a little laughter and a little fun too. So
we have people who do community service hours with us. They do CSER
from Liberty.
From Liberty.
Yep. Have riding students that come out and exercise the horses. There's 6 of them, so it's a lot to keep under saddle. You can reach us through our website, which is promiseranch.org. Pretty easy. You can just reach out there and contact us directly.